But when everyone else kind of dropped to almost zero, you guys managed to maintain that flow and no one else was able to. And even now we have agencies that are like, yeah, we can't even send one email. Everything's getting blocked. And I'm just like, so I'm confused. Like, okay, how is Sergio still able to get emails through? And other agencies are like, yeah, we just can't make it work at all. So
hey, Josh, thank you so much for joining me here. Just to get everything started, could you share a little bit about what your company does and what your company name is and everything?
Hey, Sergio. Yeah, of course. Happy to be here. So my company is called LinkFlow, and we help SaaS businesses with SEO.
All right. Fair enough. And I know that you are being a little bit humble here because you've also worked with some pretty big names, right?
Yeah, we have. We've worked with some big clients like MyFitnessPal. CMrush was one of our clients. SEMrush, Keen Footwear, back when we were open to e-commerce clients, was one of our clients. Logitech is another one. So yeah, we've worked with some pretty big name clients for sure.
Okay, so can you I want to go back in time to before you and I ever met. And just could you tell me how LinkFlow was generating leads at that time, what you guys were doing?
Sure. So we started by doing our own automated LinkedIn outreach to generate leads. So I had a person on my team whose job was just to kind of manage a software program that would go out and do messaging campaigns on LinkedIn. And that worked well for a couple of years. And then LinkedIn really clamped down on the number of new connection requests you could send per day. And so we realized, okay, we can't rely on this channel anymore. We have to shift. And we decided to shift to cold email. And we used a mix of external vendors. And also we had a team of 3 people or so that we built kind of our own internal system for cold outreach that had kind of multi-sequence email messaging campaigns. It was pretty targeted. And so for a while there, we were doing both. We had our own, and then we had a few agencies. And I think this is before we started working with you, Sergio. But yeah, we had 3 or 4 agencies, and then we were also doing our own outbound as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that's unique about LinkFlow. And it's interesting what you just mentioned, that you were doing your LinkedIn outreach before, right? That was working well. LinkedIn clamped down on that and you found a new solution. And I think that's a really cool, you have to be able to figure those things out. And one thing that has stood out to me about LinkFlow in particular, when we're talking about this, is that you, of course, I imagine you've worked with agencies in the past that have probably done nothing for you, but you still know that the mechanism works, right? So do you have like an estimated number of agencies that you've worked with to generate leads?
Oh, it's got to be the higher end you've ever heard. I would say probably 15 to 20.
Yeah. I think that's really cool because most people will try it once, it fails, and then they'll just say that it just doesn't work at all. So 15 to 20 is definitely the most I've ever heard of. But obviously, can you tell me a bit about that? Like what made you?
Yeah, for sure. So I can tell you specifically, it was about a little over a year ago, and our own outbound that we were doing in-house was not performing very well. It was very costly to keep it up. We kept getting our domains burned, and then we'd have to hire an expert to come in and fix it. And we really had to stay on top of all these changes in technology, and it was just very difficult to stay on top of it. And at that same time, we were working with a handful of agencies, and we kind of just did the math on it. We were like, hey, here's how much it costs when you add in all our labor hours and everything, infrastructure per booked call. Here's what it costs internally to get a call, and here's what it costs from our external partners, right? And it wasn't even close. Like the cost to get a book call from our external partners was so much lower that we immediately decided, okay, this is a no-brainer. Let's stop doing it in-house. Let's take all that money we were spending and just double down on adding more partners. Because, each partner kind of has their limits on how many emails they can send. So we said, okay, if in theory it's working with, I think at that time we had maybe 5 partners we were working with. Okay, in theory, and some were doing better than others. I think this was probably around the time that we brought you on. But if something is working with 5, why not double it to 10? So that was my thought process was, okay, let's just double down on what's already working, which was outsourcing our lead gen to lead gen agencies. We had a lot of conversations with a lot of agencies, and we did end up bringing on a lot more agencies, and it worked. The strategy worked. I mean, yeah, things really took off for the business once we had a bunch of lead gen partners all kind of cooking, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I was impressed by your systematized approach to this. Okay, so that was a few months ago, but over the last few months, there have been some changes in a lot of things in this industry. So what has that looked like for you in terms of, that whole having 15 to 20 agencies that you're working with? What does that look like now, and why is it different if it is different?
Well, first of all, I'll say that throughout, there were some agencies that were consistently delivering like a good number of leads, like a few per week, some even like 5 to 7 per week. And there were some that had delivered almost no leads in a series of months. And then there were quite a few in the middle. So you had kind of a top third, a middle third, a bottom third. But, because they all had upfront costs, which we had already paid, and then we were paying everyone on a per lead, per call basis, it didn't make any sense to fire the ones that weren't performing because we weren't losing any money on it anyway. But, I'll just say, as a precursor to what I'm going to say next, there were kind of star performers, mid-tier, and lower tier. And I would say you guys were definitely in that top third of performers, consistently delivering us quality leads. And I'll be totally honest, there was one that was outperforming you. And I won't name names, but he was an absolute machine at just bringing in leads. And he brought in like half of our leads for that year. And it was insane. And what happened was, though, and this is why I'll bring this up here and it won't make you sound bad, is that so around March or April, I can't remember when, Gmail and Outlook cracked down significantly on their deliverability. And suddenly it went from us getting, 30, 40 meetings a month to like 10 meetings a month. And this was a real problem for our business because we put all our eggs in the cold outreach basket. And we have some leads that come through our own SEO, but it's a very competitive field for SEO, being an SEO agency. And so, yes, we were very heavy on cold outreach. So when we call it like email apocalypse or like the email get in hit, I would say every single partner that we had just fell off the map except for you guys. And that was interesting to me because you were consistently one of the top performers, one of the better performers, but like it was a steady flow. But when everyone else kind of dropped to almost zero, you guys managed to maintain that flow and no one else was able to. And even now we have agencies that are like, we can't even send one email. Everything's getting blocked. And I'm just like, so I'm confused. Like, okay, how is Sergio still able to get emails through? And other agencies are like, we just can't make it work at all. So you went from kind of being one of the better performers to the only performer who was delivering us consistent leads. And it's probably been that way for the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. That definitely is something that we've noticed. A lot of people have just, when cold email was easy, everybody wanted to start a cold email agency. And then when it got hard, they saw that they just jumped on whatever else was a shiny object to jump onto. So I appreciate your words there, because obviously there has been a lot of learning and iteration to help achieve like that deliverability. Even now, there was another apocalypse that you could call it that if you want, just the last month. And, we had to respond accordingly as quickly as possible to that so that you don't see the effects of it. You just see see the results of the calls being booked, but not, like what's going on behind the scenes. Well, on that note, what has it looked like for you, in terms of like how much have you had to invest in your own time or anything to make this work, this partnership work?
Yeah, I'd say it's been pretty hands off for us for the most part. When there was the email clampdown, we had conversations with each of our lead gen partners to kind of because at that point we still had 10 to 15, and we wanted to just call the list basically. And even though it wasn't costing us money to keep the non-performers, we just wanted to clean the list and just cut them. And so we had detailed conversations with each agency to say, okay, what are you seeing in the market? Like, do you have any ideas for how this campaign could improve? Is it the targeting? Is it the messaging? Are there, is it the offer? Is there anything we could improve? And there are still kind of probably, in addition to you, like 4 that we're actively working with, but we cut everyone else. And those 4, we had those conversations with everybody, but the ones that we felt, okay, these guys have been delivering for us in the past, and they seem like they have a good plan for how to continue and iterate. And those were the ones we wanted to continue with. So when that happened, we scheduled a call with you guys. I remember that, we had a bunch of different ideas together for, new campaigns, new offers to test. One thing I like about working with you guys is you test a lot of different angles. And I feel like we're on like V14 messaging sequence. And it's like, you don't just stick to one thing and then kind of set it and forget it. You're proactively testing and iterating and trying new things. And if we have an idea for an offer, you might be like, oh, that's a good idea. Or you might be like, well, I don't think that would work so well because, everyone's sending that kind of offer these days. And so I felt like the process of working with you has been mostly hands off, but when we need to have those kind of conversations, they've always been really interesting and productive conversations. And I feel like now things are in a pretty good spot, knock on wood, where I saw a lead come in this morning. I was psyched. And, you guys have been by far the most consistent of any agency. And even that guy that was like just absolutely crushing in the beginning, he has fallen to almost zero. And it's like, he can't figure out why, but I don't know how, but you guys have managed to maintain throughout this difficult time.
Well,
and so
I think it's a similar approach to a degree with what you guys have done. I didn't know about this LinkedIn outreach that you were doing at the beginning. And when that stopped working, you figured out this whole system that you built for this cold email agencies and then that kind of stopped working in and of itself. And I mean, we've adapted again from then to make it continue to work. So that adaptability is something that I think has worked for LinkFlow, and I guess that works for us too.
Yeah. I think if you want to be good in business, you have to be willing to adapt very quickly, because things change out there in the world very quickly. So those who don't adapt will quickly get left behind.
Right. Okay. So do you have any specific milestones or moments, like maybe clients closed or something, come to mind that have come from working with us?
I don't know the exact percentage, but like a good number of our client base did come from your guys' outreach. And just like consistent. It's mainly just been like, it's not so much like one or two notable ones. It's just the consistency of the quality calls that you keep bringing us. It's kind of saved us in a way, because like at a time when it could have gone like literally to 0 booked calls, and it's okay, Sergio's team is still delivering. There's still hope. There's, And so, so I can't think of like any specific clients, but, I do know that probably a significant part of our revenue came from you guys. Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah. So do you have any piece of advice that you would give to a client of ours based off of your experience working with us? We have been working together. I looked, and our contract was signed back in January. So it's been pretty much 10 months since we've been working together. So, it's a good amount of time that you guys have worked with us. So any advice to clients, new clients, of what they could get out of working with us?
I would say definitely take advantage of Sergio and Montana. They're very available. And if you want to talk about, different things you can test and try to improve the campaign, book a call with them. And there might be things that they're doing with other clients that they didn't, maybe weren't on their radar, like with you or with us. And in which case, we had a call with them recently where they're like, well, we're actually changing our model a little bit. Do you want to get on this new model? And if so, we could potentially double the number of emails we're doing. And then we were like, yes, sign us up. So I would say, be somewhat proactive and maybe set up calls periodically to see maybe there's ways you could improve your offer. These guys, Booked and Rich or AxoLeads rather, they're very on top of things. So it's easy to just sit and kind of set it, forget it. But I would advise you to use their knowledge and, set up times to talk and think about brainstorm really how you could potentially improve the campaign. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And last thing, just say somebody's on the fence. They're watching this right now. They haven't decided to move forward with us or book a call with us. What would you say to them?
Do it.
Awesome. We'll keep it there. Thank you so much, Josh. Again, Josh runs LinkFlow, SEO agency, specifically helping B2B SaaS and tech companies. Although I know you have worked with other, some direct to consumer tech and also
some e-commerce, some other, But
primarily, especially if you're a B2B SaaS and tech company and you're considering lead generation and you're watching this video because of that, SEO might be something to consider. And if so, then, check out LinkFlow and talk to Josh. Make sure you say it comes from me so that I get this
Appreciate
lead
that,
counted.
Sergio. Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Josh. Any last words?
No, it's just, I worked with so many lead gen agencies in the past, and I've got to say, can't recommend Sergio and his team enough. Definitely 10 out of 10 recommend working with them. And if you're on the fence at all, as I said, just do it and you won't regret it. So
amazing. Thank you so much.